Hi, in this video we're going to be sharing some tips on how to build this sideboard. But before we get started, just a couple of reminders. First, make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver and an optional flathead screwdriver. Second, another person can be helpful in putting this together. And third, just make sure all the pieces are facing the right way when you're putting them together and you'll do great. So with that in mind, let's get started.
Remember, in these tips we won't cover every step, so just make sure you also follow the instructions and do all the steps in between.
In step 3, we're going to be separating the sliders. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to pull the slider out all the way. And then you can pull up on this lever right here. And this small slider should just come right out. And once you have those separated, we can go ahead and move into step 4. And for this, there's a couple of things that you're going to want to keep an eye on. So just make sure that you have the holes lined up so that all of the holes into the piece match up with the slider. And you also want to make sure that you don't have the slider all the way up against the edge. This would cause problems when you're putting the drawers in. So make sure that you have a little space and all the holes line up, and then you're good to put the screws in. All right, and once you have all of those screws in and all of your sliders attached, you're good to move on to the next step. In steps 12 and 13, we'll be attaching pieces 1, 3, and 6. The first thing that you'll want to do in this step is take piece 1 and put it onto the top of the piece. So we'll go ahead and line up those cam bolts. And then we'll take piece 3. And when you put these on, you want to make sure that you have these cam lock holes facing upwards and this groove on the same side as the groove on the rest of the piece. So in this case, it's going to be on the back. So line this one up. And then you just want to be aware of the same things on the other side with piece 6. So we'll go ahead and put this one on as well. Then it's just a good idea to double check that you have all of these grooves lining up on the back of the piece. Once you're sure everything's facing the right way, you're good to put the cam locks in. In steps 28 through 31, we'll be putting together the drawers. And to do that, we'll be using pieces 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. So the first step we're going to do is grab piece 19. We're going to face it with the groove facing away from us. And then we can take piece 23, and you want to put it so that the groove is on the inside, and so it's on the top lining up with piece 19. Also be sure that you have these cam lock holes facing forward, just that way you know you have the piece on the right side. So we can go ahead and put the screws into this. All right, once you have that side on, we can do the same thing for the other side. Once again, with the groove facing inwards, these cam lock holes facing forward, and just make sure that the groove lines up all the way across the piece. And we can put the screws into the other side. All right, and then we can go ahead and slide in piece 23. And we'll just slide it in inside of these grooves here. Make sure that it fits snugly into all of the pieces. And then we can put on piece 21. And when you put this on, you want to make sure that you have this cam lock hole facing upwards, and then it's on this side. So you can go ahead and line that up, and then put the screw in here as well. All right, once you have all of these pieces together, we're just going to go ahead and stand this up. And then we're going to put piece 18 on the top. And you want to make sure that this cam bolt is on the bottom and goes into piece 21. So we'll just line that up and make sure this back panel fits into the groove. Then you can go ahead and put all the cam locks in. And with cam locks, we find that a Phillips head screwdriver works just fine, but a flathead screwdriver can just get you a little bit more grip. All right, once you have all of those cam locks in, you're done with your drawers and you're ready to move on. In steps 37 and 38, we'll be attaching the doors onto the piece. And when we do this, we find it's helpful if you hold the door up with one hand. And then with your other hand, if you put the screw onto the screwdriver ahead of time, then you can go ahead and line up the holes and put your first screw in. When we put the screws in, we find it's helpful if you put them in an X pattern instead of a square. Just helps everything line up a little bit better. All right, and once you have all of your screws in, you can check and see if your door looks straight. And if you need any help with that, you can check out our video on adjusting door hinges. Once everything is looking good, then you're all done. We hope this video was helpful for you in assembling your new sideboard. For more guides, tips, and tricks, go to walkeredison.com.